Before we begin, we want to acknowledge that some stories and discussions in this episode of Radiant Resilience may touch on sensitive and potentially triggering topics. These may include themes of chronic illness, relationship endings and breakup, grief and emotional struggles, financial hardship related to illness. Our goal is to share real life experiences in a respectful and empathetic manner, offering insights into the complexities of the human spirit and the journey towards resilience. However, we understand that some content might be difficult for listeners. We encourage you to prioritize your well being and discretion when deciding to listen. Please remember this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice or support. If you find yourself needing assistance, we urge you to seek help from qualified professionals or trusted support systems. Your mental and emotional health is important to us. Thank you for your courage and for joining us in a space of understanding and compassion. Welcome back, everyone, to Radiant Resilience. I'm so excited today. I have Kasey Baynton back for the third time on this podcast, but it's been a minute since she's been on. I looked back. So she was on episode 1, my very first released episode, and episode 10. If you want more in-depth details about her story, you can go back and listen definitely to episode 1, and then I think there's bits and pieces in 10 as well. But the short version is that Kasey got diagnosed with Lyme disease a few years ago and has just been on an amazing healing journey ever since then, physically and spiritually, I think. So, yeah, so I'm so excited to have this conversation and have her back. Hi, Kasey. Welcome back.
That's good.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here. So you've had a lot of big changes in the last year and stuff. So I'm gonna just let you catch us up on what that is, and then yeah, we'll continue the conversation from there. So go right ahead.
Yeah, so for me, it was just moving actually locations. So I moved from Vernon, BC, which is in the Okanagan, very dry and hot there. And I moved to Vancouver Island, so Como, BC. Yeah, it was a big change for me, a big life decision because I actually really loved Vernon. I loved living there. I loved what I was doing. Yeah, but there was a couple things that I don't know how to explain it when a decision comes clear that you need to move on as much as you love it. Actually, that's what's been coming up for me a lot is I feel like a lot of people hang on to things when the energy is actually dead or feels dead, even though you love it still, or whatever you're doing, whatever relationship or living somewhere, you may love it like to the depth of your core, but for some reason you feel like it's done. I think a lot of us will keep hanging on to that. Whereas some of the best advice I've received in my Lyme disease treatment is you just have to have the courage to make that decision to move on.
Which
And
can be so hard, right? Because we're like super creatures of habit and that stuff feels comfortable. I actually, too, just at the beginning of this year, I left the salon I was at for 10 years. And I'm best friends with the owner. And it was very difficult. It was one of the most difficult changes that I've had. And I've been dealing with my ego ever since then because I've had to rebuild my clientele. And it was a scary move. And it's been very trying. But it was also something that deep down in my soul I knew I needed to do. But to actually make that jump was really hard. So those things come up. You're so right. I've been feeling it for years with that situation. And I just finally made the jump, but it's been very difficult.
for me, it was like my mind could keep making up excuses forever, indefinitely, of reasons to stay. And then my body was actually showing up, giving me very significant cues of, no, you need to make a change here.
Why
And
do our bodies always know before our brains know?
catch up, actually. But like you, I think we were going through the change at the same time. And yeah, it was scary. It was like a leap of faith. It was exhausting. I just had to trust that people would rally around me and help me if I needed help. And I just had to slow things down sometimes and take it one step at a time. Remember, actually, one another thing was like, perfectionism of being like, yeah, you move somewhere, it's exciting, you have these big expectations, and to just be like, it's not going to be perfect in the beginning. Give up the idea of this perfect thing you're moving towards and just embrace what kind of comes like at you, what shows up in front of your face. And yeah, so I went through this big grieving process of leaving Vernon, leaving my friends, the community.
How long had you been there?
I had been there for 2 years full time and then a little longer drifting as a sort of nomad, staying in people's places. But I'd been in the Okanagan since 2021. Yeah, I made a lot. I had my healing community there, my dog walking community, my soccer friends, sailing community. Yeah, and I met some of the most amazing people. I was living in their houses because I was house sitting, and it felt like I had 10 homes there more than like just one. Like the next, I could have stayed in like a countless number of beds, or yeah, it was yeah, so I was leaving someplace that was just filled with a lot of love and connection and generosity and stuff to somewhere brand new. And you have in the back of your head, like, what am I doing? Yeah. And then, yeah, so it was just a lot about, I think I've mentioned this to you before, is like when I meet change in the past, I've had this knee jerk reaction to want to just turn right back and run away or go crying to my mom and be like, this is, I can't do this. I want to come home or I want to go back to where I was because it's comfortable. And so I just had to keep telling myself, like, I will not run from hard things. I will not run from uncomfortable things. I'll give it time. I will see where this goes because I don't know what's good or bad, right? It's only by looking back that I truly see, oh, okay, that was like even though that was deeply uncomfortable, it was a move that really helped me grow or led to this, which I'm really enjoying right now. Or
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but like I knew for my business move that, like I said, in my heart and soul, like I still feel like even though it's hard sometimes, I know deep down in my soul that it was the right decision. So you can search for that in those moments, I think, of just diving deeper and going, okay, no, this was good, even though it's really fucking hard right now. Like,
I'm standing like in my new job and just being same. It was like deep in my core, I was like, I know I'm meant to be here. I don't know for what reason, but it does feel like I was meant to be brought here for a reason. So I'm gonna try to be like fully present and see where this leads. And yeah, so same thing. It was just that trust of I feel like I'm meant to be here for some reason. My mind's being like, why are you here? But like I've also realized through that change how much I've become more aware or conscious or been able to regulate myself in hard situations or yeah, I just don't have that, okay, this is deeply uncomfortable, I'm just gonna run away. It's no, plant your feet, take a deep breath, go say hello.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's so hard though. And I don't know. Like, I think the other thing that we need to remember is that most things do not have to be permanent, too. So you could go back to Vernon at any time, right?
That was it. You nailed it because when I moved here, it was a little bit like my mind was like, "Oh, now I'm stuck here." You know what I mean? But yeah, that phrase like "this too shall pass" is really applicable to everything. Like even the good times, the bad times. We tend to often use it most when we're in the thick of hard times, but everything just kind of like passes. You think something will last forever, and then sure enough, like it will end, and something else comes along. But that's where I was mentioning before is like you have to get better at noticing even with the good and the bad when it does come to an end. You know what I mean? And I
Mm.
truly letting go and addressing your grief and sitting in that sadness, only when you do that then you can it can truly pass. And usually what I find is then something new comes into your life that's like almost bigger and brighter and shinier than if you had just kept clinging on to that thing you love. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's so hard though, because this change is scary for a lot of people and really scary.
But change happens to us no matter what. I find if you don't keep with change, it will happen to you anyway, and then you'll just be knocked sideways by it.
And it could be a big thing that the universe is forcing on you to change.
Yeah. And sometimes if you keep ignoring it, yeah, the universe will just drop, like literally hand push you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's scary and hard, but so was your initial feelings just I need a change, I need something different, or what? I can't remember if you had told me the job offer came first. Was that kind of what pulled you out, or was that after you decided to leave already?
No, it was more leaving a long-term relationship. So
Okay.
it was, I was living with a person that we've been together for a long time, more distance, like on and off. And that relationship had felt dead to me for a long time, but I wasn't like honoring it. Like I said, my mind kept, because he's a super nice guy. His parents are exceptional, always been as supportive to me. Living with him was super comfortable, just an all around like decent man. But I in the past had been like, my behavior in the relationship just wasn't like honorable. Like I definitely drifted more, and so my mind kept telling me like, oh, I could stay in this because it's a good thing, but my body was showing up and just being like, no, it's done, like you've been over this for a while. So I had to have the courage to be like, I need to change, like move and change from this. And even reading the let them theory, she said one of the most courageous things you can do in life is to tell someone you don't want to be with them, because he is such an exceptional guy. He deserves to be with people who want to spend time with him. And the problem was that like I was more like out in the community being active and connecting with people, and he's more of a homebody type person, likes to be on his computer, watch shows. And so it our personal preferences just got, our ways of life just got farther and farther apart, and it was harder to connect. So yeah, that was the thing where I just had to listen to my body. My body was like, it's done. And so I had to make the hardest decision of my life to like leave a place and a person that I deeply cared for, to just go totally on my own to somewhere brand new where all I had was like a job and my family close by for support. So
Yeah, that's a lot. That's really brave of you. I think that's important to note too, because relationships don't end just because somebody did something horrible or because somebody is a horrible person or anything. Sometimes we just grow apart. And I think that's the case with friendships too. But I think it's a lot harder. It's a lot easier to acknowledge that in a friendship versus a romantic relationship. And that is really hard. And then when you're comfortable with that too, I actually just said yesterday to a client, I'm like, yeah, to push me out into the dating world, Colin would have to do a lot of really bad things. Like the prospect of going into the dating world sounds terrifying because I talk to so many clients that have so many bad experiences with it. Obviously, you don't have to jump right into dating again, but yeah, I don't know. I think that a lot of people stay in relationships, romantic relationships, for longer than they should.
exactly. And still when I moved here and like I was crying a lot, I would have that jerk reaction because some of my, it took me a long time to move my stuff. I had to move it in 4 shifts, and I was going back, and I was like, oh, I could always go back. But like reflecting on it, I kept telling myself, like, going back would be the greatest disservice to both of us. You know what I mean? It would be the cruelest thing to do with both of us because I would go back, but I still wouldn't be feeling it. So how does that create a relationship of like value or build something moving forward if I'm not like, if my cards aren't in, right? Um,
Yeah, and like you said, he definitely deserves to have somebody who's all in. And just like you deserve that too. You're not only dishonoring yourself, but him too. And even though I'm sure walking away from that you knew was going to hurt him, and that's not your intentions by any means, we never want to hurt people we care about. So, but staying with him when you weren't feeling it all is also very unkind.
it hurt even more. And yeah, even in the let them theory book, which, yeah, we discussed. Yeah, it. She says sometimes to make the best decisions in life, you will create some uncomfortableness in the people around you, but they're adults and they can handle it. And so to not be afraid to make some choice. Like obviously you don't want to completely hurt like the people you love, but sometimes you, for the betterment of yourself, you do have to make a decision that will inconvenience them a little bit, but you have to trust that they will have to make life decisions and you will show up for them. So I moved here and I inconvenienced Jess, my sister, and her husband Brandon, who are exceptional. And they really helped me set up my new apartment and build a new shoe rack and stuff. So yeah, I did inconvenience some of their time in helping me pick up furniture, but they love me, so they're happy to do it. And if they make any life decisions where they need to, yeah, call on my time, I will show up for them. So yeah, I think a lot of us are scared to make decisions like that, stay in relationships or don't move to a place or something because you're afraid to ask for help or afraid to like inconvenience people, especially the people we love. Or yeah, it's yeah, it takes a lot of courage for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, so when you started on this whole healing journey, because as I've read so many self-help books and all the things, like a lot of the ones have said that when you start going through a healing process, the people around you who are not typically end up falling off and out of your life to some degree because you are moving forward in this journey and they're staying stuck back in their stuff. And while that's fine because everybody's healing journey is different and everybody goes at different paces and there's nothing wrong with that, that's another way that like you end up separating. So did you find when you first started getting into your healing journey of all this stuff that you lost a lot of people at that time?
Even with the relationship that I to, we'd been distant for a long time, and it was 2 years ago that we decided in Vernon to move in together. And he'd been living in Ontario at the time, and I'd been healing in BC. And when he showed up, it was yeah, the past came rushing in. And I remember one of the first things I said to him was like, I just need to warn you that I can't go back anymore. It's not an option for me. Like I need my where I'm at right now. I'm like moving forward with life. And I think that's why we eventually separated because he was still like very more of a grounded guy who just sticks to his ways and stuff. Whereas, yeah, I had gone through treatments and deep dive into my soul and psyche, and I was just like on a different level. Yeah, and I had to totally, and for me, truth was showing up a lot. Like I couldn't lie about my feelings anymore. I couldn't ignore what my body was telling me. I couldn't ignore what my soul was telling me. I just had to, if anything was really bugging me, I had to stand my ground and tell my truth. Whereas in the past, I just overrode my feelings, ignored them, didn't acknowledge them, stayed in things way too long. And yeah, even just having the courage to look him in the eye and be like, I can't go back with you. So it was that warning him, you have to move forward with me or we're gonna just separate. And we gave it 2 years, like we gave it a go. Again, like I gave it a stretch, it just didn't work. So yeah, I agree. It's just like you go through some big changes and people do drop from your life and then other people, but as soon as those people drop in your life, it seems like other people drop into your life.
Yeah, that's true. The right people end up coming around.
I've truly learned to trust that whoever's in front of your face in the present moment, like you now, is like the person who's meant to be in your time and space and the most important person in the moment that you should be giving your time and attention to. Even if you work at the grocery store or something, there are deeper ways to connect. Or and yeah, some days you're not feeling it, some days you're tired and you just want to pay for your stuff and get out. But if you have those days where you're just feeling a little bit more energized and you can ask their name or just be a bit more honest of if they ask how you're feeling, and you're just, instead of just being like, yeah, I'm good, be like, oh yeah, this happened to me. And yeah, sometimes you can connect a little bit more. But yeah, and some people who you show up in front of you are not, some people are resonating right on your level and you're like, this is great. And other people you're like, oh God, this person is like teaching me a lesson, or there's definitely some disconnect. And what are they saying that I can pay attention to? Or that was like an interesting encounter. I think the more you just stay present with people showing up and pay attention, the more interesting, yeah, it gets, and the more
Love
connected.
that. So how long have you been on the island now?
Since April, yeah. And I'm always the impatient sort that's, I want it now, I want it now. And I just have to keep telling me, give it time. Like you've, and then I'll be lying on the couch at the end of the week being like, why am I so burnt out? I'm like, give it time. You don't have to have everything sorted out. You don't have to connect with everyone. You don't have to do everything right now. You've already done an incredible amount while being here. I've sailed around Hornby Island. I've sailed to Powell River and back. I've been in a regatta. I've been, yeah, done some dog sitting for people. I've worked every day on the airfield. I've been up in a plane. Like, I've been visiting my friends. So, yeah, I've done a lot. Yeah.
Well, that's good. So even though it's not quite home yet and you're still trying to build that community and stuff, it sounds like you're at least putting yourself out there and learning things. Were you sailing before you moved out there?
Yeah, I started to learn in Okanagan Lake. Yeah, and I was on two boats there and lovely people, like amazing people. It was really hard to leave them. But I do realize coming here that the sailing is like the step above. Yeah, so it's definitely at times been like really challenging and overwhelming and uncomfortable, but I just keep showing up and getting on the boat. And each time I do, I learn so much more because people here have been like sailing since they were little kids and been out on the ocean and just know so much. So
That
yeah.
seems like such a cool hobby, but I would like to sail, but I don't think I want to actually sail the boat. I just want to be on the boat. The actual like sailing of it intimidates me.
It's physically intense when you're in the races. Yeah, you just have to be consciously switched on the whole time, and the skipper's telling you what to like, where to move and what to pull on sometimes, and you get a feel for it yourself. And yeah, it's like any sport, it's pretty intense. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I'm glad. So tell me about what are you, I mean, we've gone over a lot of the treatment stuff that you were doing for your Lyme disease and things like that, but like, where are you at with all of that right now? How are you feeling and what's working really well for you?
Good question. Yeah, I'm a little further from my naturopaths right now moving here. So it's harder for me to check in sometimes. So I go a few months and then I head back to the Okanagan and check in with them. But that's also, I'm going to be coming up to my fifth year, like the end of my fifth year of treatment. And in my kind of conscious awareness, I think I mentioned this in my other podcast that it would take a bit of 5 years to heal from Lyme. So maybe this petering off is telling me like, and moving far away, that it's now time to trust that you can peter off a bit more and more from your supports with your naturopath. But I still check in. So I do my naturopathic visits. Usually it's like biophoton light therapy, low dose immunotherapy. I think last time I went, I did low dose immunotherapy for adrenals and food maybe. And then I'm doing a candida cleanse with my sister right now, protocol through her naturopath. So trying that out. I still do the bee venom when I'm intuitively like called to do that. Yeah, and a lot of work with food. I do a lot of movement type stuff because I do get like stiff, or I can tell when my energy gets a bit like stagnant. Yeah, I heard that recently, that sometimes you think you're low on energy, but it's actually that your energy is just stagnant and
Oh,
move it. So a lot of qigong or just slow movements to music, or and I meditate almost every day. Yeah, and do stuff.
I feel like you've done so much and you've researched so much and you've tried so much that I feel like you know all the things to do and not to do and what works for you and everything. So I imagine not seeing the naturopath as often is probably fine.
Do you have a bit of that? If I start to feel a bit crummy, being like, oh, I should go see them. They'll fix me. And then just be like, no, you have your own resources. I had a couple funny, because I follow synchronicities, right? So I had funny things this week with food. So one was like, I was a little bored with food. So I went into the grocery store and it was just like, what, hey, body or mind or soul, whatever, what are you feeling? And I picked up some plums. And then my coworker after one of my shifts just handed me a plum and was like, here, we have a bunch in our backyard. Like, I can bring you more, but would you like a plum? And I was like, okay, this is weird. He sensed too that I needed plums this week. I don't know why or what for. And then it was like 2 days later, I was having a little bit of heartburn because I've been trying out a bit of new supplements and experimenting stuff. So I was like, again, hey buddy, what would maybe help with this heartburn? And I just kept getting oatmeal cookies in my head. And I was like, okay, I'll trust it. Maybe after work I'll get oatmeal cookies. And then I get a message from my coworker. He's running like 30 minutes late because he was in Nanaimo. And I was like, no worries, I can stay. I show up to the parking lot to do our exchange, and he hands me. He went to a cafe and he's here. I got you a cookie, and it was like an oatmeal cookie. It was the same guy.
That's wild, Kasey. I remember you in one of the previous episodes talking about, was it cinnamon? I think you told the story of because you got like cinnamon toothpaste or something like that.
So yeah, I still have those things show up for me. So sometimes, yeah, sometimes you don't even have to go buy it. Your friends in the universe will just drop it into your friends' hands and they'll pass it on to you and it'll make you laugh. But yeah, those two synchronicities. So I have those happen on and off. So that was pretty fun. And I find that type of healing really keeps you going because it's just a little confirmation of, oh, I can trust what I'm feeling to show up for me, and whatever does show up for me, maybe this is like what I'm supposed to be paying attention to. And yeah.
I feel like every time I have those moments, I'm always shocked by them. I don't know if when that oatmeal cookie showed up, you were like, what? No way.
Within 10 seconds.
Yeah, you're like, this is exactly what I needed. But I'm always shocked in the moments. But I will say it's also very hard to trust the universe in that sense. That's a simple thing of like you asking your body what it needs or whatever versus the bigger things in life of trusting that this move is a good choice and things like that. But it's so, even though I've seen it, I've experienced it myself. I've talked to a lot of people who have experienced it in those ways. And yet I still struggle sometimes to trust that the universe has my back and there's a reason for everything and all that stuff. And I don't know. Do you have any advice for anybody out there listening that would be in those shoes too?
It is. Yeah, I think it comes back to the this too shall pass thing. Is a lot of times when we're in the struggle or the contraction or the darkness or whatever, it really feels like we'll never get it. Yeah. And I feel, and it's so hard to trust in those moments. And yeah, through my disease, there's been moments where I've just had weeks where I felt like I just want to stay in bed for 10 days and never get up. I feel so tired. And I just had to trust that no, if you do let yourself have some time to slow down and really feel into what this is supposed to be, why this is here for you, yeah, you do end up coming out on the other side. But yeah, it's so, I agree with you. There are some days where it's like that trust is tested. And I know you've probably talked about, people talk about looking for those little glimmers too. I call it like also like resourcing. Sometimes you deeply have to resource in those moments of what is one thing that's going to make me feel better, even if it's like you're stuck in bed of just like feeling how soft your sheets are or giving your pillow like the biggest squeeze of its life and imagine it hugging you back or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I just had a conversation with my friend Carrie. It was her third time on this podcast too, and we were talking about that kind of stuff too because she's gone through infertility and is in the like similar boat than of me where we never had success and trying to find happiness and joy and all the things. But we were talking about that too of I love waking up in the morning and getting my cup of coffee and sitting on my porch. Like the little something as small as that. It doesn't have to be some big grand purpose or thing that you're doing, like finding those just little tiny things throughout your day that bring you joy, that make you happy, and like really be grateful for them and keep doing them too.
Even say that as we look at like I've been tapping into creativity more. we look at like grand pieces of art or books that we really love and stuff. And a lot of artists will say the key is in the details, to really slow down and observe the little details and everything. And I think our modern culture has gotten, everything has to be bigger and brighter and flashier and stuff. But no, it is sometimes just really slowing down and paying attention to that particular color, and how, or if you're watching people, how that person moves or how they smile or how the sun tracks across the sky, or how does the wind through the grass truly feel like sound to you. And it is, or how does this, yeah, just sitting, taking a moment to really drink your coffee or your tea in the morning. I agree. Recently, I don't know why poetry has been coming online. I just trust whatever is like showing up for me. Poetry has been coming up like everywhere for me. And I am like a big dabbler in poetry in my life, but lately I've just been taking time. This is where I just do like fun, amusing things. Just so I've been reading like Shakespearean sonnets to plants and trees. So
I love that.
park or to my plants in the house or something, I'll just take a moment and read them like one of Shakespeare's sonnets, because Shakespeare was coming up everywhere for me. I was seeing him everywhere in the things I was watching and the things I was like, fine, I'll just read a little bit of love poetry to plants. And yeah, it makes me feel, it's fun and it makes me feel good. It has no, I don't know if it has a purpose or not. I don't care if it has a purpose or not. I just like doing it. Yeah. So even little things like that, there's so many ways we can just show up, and everyone thinks you have to do these big acts of service, but you can just even being fully present and observing yourself, observing others, being a part of the world. Like so many of us get caught up in like the doing, which is good. We need periods in our life to do that, but
And
there
there are things we have to do for sure.
and then there are times where you're just like, let it be, just be, and really enjoy the moment. And so that's what Shakespeare poems have been for me recently. And I think it's leading me to write my own sonnet. And I was like looking into how to write my own sonnet. It's hard.
I know nothing about poetry, so that's not something I ever got into. I kind of want to be that person that's into poetry though. I don't know, it's supposed to be so beautiful and meaningful, and I feel like it is something I could really get into because I also read a lot and stuff. But I know there's a lot of different forms of poetry. So what is a sonnet essentially?
Sonnet is usually like a love poem. Generally, it doesn't have to be. And there's two type, like an English and Italian. I haven't really learned the Italian style, but the English one generally has 14 lines, though I've seen it be longer. And there's quatrains. There's three quatrains, which are 4 lines, and the first line always rhymes with the third line, and the second line, the end always rhymes with the fourth line. And then the last two are like a couplet, so the two end words on the last sort of rhyme. And yes, and it has, each line has 14 syllables, I think. So it is, I think maybe that's why poetry is being brought into my life. It is one thing to, it slows you down because you read a poem and you're like, first glance, you're like, I have no idea what they're talking about. You have to read it over and over again, and sometimes look up on and be like, oh, okay, this is, I feel it. Okay. And then to craft one, you're like, you really have to think about words and what do I want to feel and express. Yeah, it's become a new fascination, a recent fascination.
That's cool though, because I think we always need to learn new things and figure out new things. And I don't know, because if we just stop learning, then I don't know, I don't feel like you're gonna progress and like you just become stagnant.
Exactly. Yeah. It really helps with keeping that brain engaged, especially as we get older. Because when we're in public school or high school or university, we have no choice. Like our teachers are bringing new things into the class all the time. And then I think once we get out of that, we have to become our own sort of masters and instructors and tutors and just feel what's showing up for us, or follow. People talk about following your excitement or your interest or your inspiration. So if you told me a year ago in Vernon that I'd be in Comox reading like Shakespearean sonnets to and getting into poetry for some reason, I'd be like, Okay. But yeah, that's where I am right now. And
I love that you just trust those feelings that you get too. And they're so random. And I'm sure that all of us get those random, like you're reading sonnets to plants. Like, I feel like if somebody, and like anybody else listening who's not familiar with some of this, like these concepts would be like, what? But like, I bet we all have those feelings. We're just like, maybe that seems like a weird thing to do. So I'm not going to do that because that's weird.
weird. You don't have the courage to just be weird. But when I look back on it, I'm like, trees are one of the greatest loves of my life. Like trees, see, this even makes me teary. Trees have like always been there for me. And they're like, ooh, yeah. So they're like my safe space. They're like where I run, where I play. Like they just like it tears my heart when I see them like burning and stuff. But slowly, yeah, looking back, it makes complete sense why I'd be reading like love poems to trees. I love them. I can feel it. Like you said, you can feel things deep in your core. I know deep down how much I truly love trees. And it's the reason I could never be like an astronaut and go to space is because I would just be, I think trees are one thing I could never like move on from. I think that I think I would just die of like immense grief in space for so yeah, it's weird how like at first you can have like why am I doing this, this seems stupid, does it have a purpose, but if it brings you joy and then looking back you're like no, it makes complete sense why I'm doing this. And even me talking to you now is oh maybe I should go do some like actual work with trees and trying to save trees if I like care that much. Yeah, so some of these small things can lead to
I think trees are amazing too, though. I mean, if you've ever done any research on trees, like they've been around a long time. They've seen a lot of stuff. They're very energetic with their roots and connecting to the other trees. And there was one thing that Colin told me one time about there's a certain type of tree that like was like alerting, has a way to like alert animals when there's like bad stuff, or I don't remember exactly, like it produces a certain sap, or I don't know, it was something like that. And I just think it's so cool. Like they are more amazing than we give them credit for. So when you really start to dive deep into trees, they're not just trees.
it that like they can time their release like walnuts or something. They'll like they if they feel like they need to hold off, they can like time it all together and stuff. And yeah, it's they're way more intelligent and communicative and than we give them credit for.
Yeah, Colin and I hike a lot, and I always find myself with pine trees specifically, I don't know what it, I should maybe think about this a little bit deeper. But with pine trees specifically, I always have this compulsion to touch the pine needles and figure out, because they're all so different. And I can't tell you how many times I've touched one and been like, oh my God, that those are soft, or oh my God, they're pokey, or they're all so different. And I love feeling the texture of all the different ones. And then I always am like, thank you, trees. If I have to use it to step down or while I'm hiking and stuff like that. And yeah, I love trees too. They haven't quite been there for me like they have for you, but I definitely, when I'm hiking, I definitely feel that connection with the pine trees for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So that's just I don't know something I've been doing. And
How did you fall? Okay, so like for anybody who's listening who doesn't know how to listen to those cues that led you to that, what was showing up for you as far as the Shakespeare stuff goes? What were the cues? And then how did you eventually put it all together to be like, all right, I'm going to read these to my plants?
yeah, it's fun. Yeah, it was just like a weird. It's always as I'm just moving through life, and at first always starts as like a slow, energetic build, and then it usually then eventually is just showing up everywhere, and it will be even so much as just I sit down to watch a Netflix show, and it's all. So it was like I was working with some oracle card. First off, it started because the partner I was with was named Will, so I released the will let go of that relationship. And then as soon as I like a couple months later, then yeah, Will Shakespeare started coming up.
Oh,
So that's what I said is sometimes when you release something, Yeah, the energy comes back in a different, new, weird way. And so, yeah, I was working with some, I play with Oracle decks sometimes. And then, yeah, it would just be like in passing conversations. I'd put on like the Netflix show Sandman, and Shakespeare was showing up there. And then I'd be somewhere else and his name would show up. And then eventually I was in a park, like connecting with some oak trees. There's a new park here that I discovered called Philburg, and they had a stage. And it was really calling out to me to read like Shakespeare. So I just brought up some on my phone. I was on the stage reading some Shakespeare to the trees there. And then I went, there's an old, what is it? There's an old used bookshop in town here, and it's just like a one street town. And I was like, I'll just go check out what they have for poetry. And their section was like tiny, very tiny, very little like known names. But there was a right there, William Shakespeare sonnets book, pretty much like waiting for me. So I like picked it up for, I don't know, like $5. And again, yeah, just showing up in like music, and yeah, it's just like I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It,
Well,
it
and I think your intuition plays a role in that too, of picking up on the consistencies there too.
there's a play. I wish I had the money, but there's one of my favorite actors that I follow is doing a play called Born with Teeth in London, which is about like the dynamic of Christopher Marlowe and Shakespeare, their like dynamic together. So I kept seeing the media blasts from that, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It just drops on you from everywhere like rain. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's really cool. That makes sense to me. I know that there's probably people listening who maybe it doesn't make as much sense to. So, if you're not paying attention, I think that's the biggest thing. Like I wasn't earlier years of my life, adult life, I wasn't paying attention to anything like that. I was just going with the flow and like doing what I wanted to do and whatever. But it is so interesting when that stuff drops in and you're like, oh, wow. Okay.
Doesn't happen all the time. I feel like you'll go through periods of just, yeah, I don't know, yeah, periods of just not having any synchronicities, and you're just living your life and connecting with your friends and having, and then all of a sudden there'll just be I feel it more as like an energy wave. It comes and like almost like a swell in the ocean of, whoa, I can feel this kind of coming, and if I ride it, it will be something cool will happen, or like it will just keep building, and then eventually it does like peter off, and you can tell that energy is.
I mean, it's just the same. Like, I think we have chapters in our lives, right? Where certain things, like, I was super into journaling for a while and I was so consistent with it and I was doing so well with it and it felt so right and I was getting a lot of things out. And then every time I sit down and try to journal now, I struggle with it more because I think it served its purpose when I needed it the most. And although I say that, and now have you read The Artist's Way?
Yeah, yeah, I have that book here. I really like that one. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just started it. And so I know that a lot of the book is like journaling exercises and things and prompts and things like that. So I'm getting ready to dive into that. But that's going to serve its purpose for now. And then I'll move on to the next thing. But I think that's important to note that like in our healing journeys, you just got to do what's right in the moment. And it may not be the right thing for forever, but that's okay.
Yeah, I feel that's where I was saying with people like clinging on to things. People will be like, this is journaling's my thing now. And they'll just like, yeah, and try to push through it even when they're like not feeling it. It's a grind now. And you're like, no, let it go for a bit. It will come back to you when you need it, and it will come back with greater like vigor. And like the artist's way, I was doing that same thing. She has like morning pages or whatever. Yeah, just that conscious stream. So I was doing that for a while pretty, and I was like, that is great. But same thing as you, it just petered away. And so, yeah, I'm just like, okay, so poetry and reading to plants is what I'm doing right now. And then when it feels like it's meant to just be released, like it served its purpose, then, have that little bit of sadness of being like, okay, this is
Yeah,
done.
the journaling worked so good for me. And I was like, that's so true. I was like, why isn't this working anymore? Like, I remember how it made me feel and how well it was working. And I was able to just pour my heart and soul onto the page. And now I sit down to do it and I'm like, I don't know, it's not coming out like it once was. So, being able to accept that. But I was sad because it was something that I enjoyed. And I think it will come back. I think it will change though.
And even with the morning, because you starting the artist ways, even you can sit there and it's funny with your journal, you just be like, nothing's coming out. Nothing's coming out. This is hard. I don't know why this is so hard. And you just keep writing like that feeling until usually it'll eventually like break. And yeah, and then you'll be like consciously in it again. But sometimes it's funny, even if you really feel like you want to journal in that moment, but nothing's coming, to just write.
That's a good point. I don't think I've ever tried that.
It's just like journaling sucks right now. Journaling is really hard for me right now. It used to be great. Now I'm just really struggling with it. It's not bringing me the joy I want. And you just keep expressing those feelings of eventually you will get it all out.
I think that's great advice. I need to try that. Like I said, I'm getting ready to do the artist way. So I'll be doing those morning pages and maybe that's what's going to come out. But that's the whole point of it too, of the book is to unblock you. So to allow your creativity to flow normally again, because there's obviously some block there. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what it brings up and how I end up expanding my creativity and what that ends up happening. Did you finish the whole thing?
So I've finished it all on audiobook and then I have it in hard copy. And I have a lot of some of her, affirmations and stuff on my fridge actually right now. So I haven't done, but I haven't I would love to get together with a group and actually like work through the book. I haven't properly worked through every chapter yet, which, yes. Hey, maybe we can form an artist way through.
Yeah, that's true. The part I was reading yesterday, because I'm still in the very big, like, introductory pages, but I think there's a section in the back of the book that helps you form a group and do it in a group activity.
And some of the stuff she said in the book I was already doing anyway. Take yourself on an artist state of just go do something you wouldn't normally do, and something different, and go by yourself, and yeah, really just treat yourself to something different and new. And yeah, I was doing that a lot with Lyme, just going wherever my intuition told me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So what are you looking forward to future-wise now?
Oh, that's a good question. So this is a big thing with Lyme is it's really financially tough on people. And I'm luckier than most because some people get completely bankrupt by treatment. Now that my 5 years of Lyme healing is coming up, it feels like it's gonna, because I am like financially struggling. I will say that Lyme like pretty much not took every, it gave me so much in terms of like healing and mindfulness, but financially it wiped me clean, right? So now I feel like it's like flipping over to, I spent 5 years like building up my health again, and now it's going to be moving forward like building up a bit of my like the health of my wealth, I guess. So I am both following my intuition and stuff, but also being mindful to be a bit more like disciplined and practical and pragmatic in terms of building up my finances and stuff, which is a world that I know like nothing about and is scary. And people talk to me about like investments and stuff, and I'm just like clueless, and you want to run away like crying because yeah, you know nothing, right? So yeah, I feel like that will be moving forward is just building my wealth back up a bit, but trying to build my wealth while trying to maintain my health, not try to get
Yeah,
that.
that's super important, right? Because sometimes work and money can take over and then you're no longer healthy anymore.
And it's hard with Lyme because you're coming out of it, you're exhausted not only from the disease, but you're exhausted from all the healing work. And so to be like, okay, I need to work my ass off to build myself back up again. I just have to remember to like pace myself or ask for help when I need it. And remember that you don't have to have it figured out or perfect right away. Just keep asking people questions, keep listening, keep learning. You will, yes, you feel like you're behind the ball with everyone else who's like your age in life, who own houses and have investments and aren't struggling with money, and you can barely afford rent. Yeah, it's like a bit of that. Yeah, I would say building my self-worth again is
Mm.
like in a physical realm, but also I always joke with my sister that one of my phrases was like, I'm too kind to actually survive in this world, like afford living in this world. But I'm trying to flip that script a bit, letting go of the idea that I need to be perfect, that I can just be myself, and that has value, and to do things and move on and not get so stuck in trying to make things perfect. And yeah, I think I've held myself back a lot financially by not believing in myself and my creativity and the things I create and stuff. And a lot of that comparison with others. And
Which is also a hard thing. We could do a whole podcast episode on comparison. That's why it's so hard. Comparison and jealousy but it's hard not to in the world we're living in too, when social media and all the stuff that makes it look like people are living these perfect lives and they're so successful and things like that. And I understand that's tough. Yeah. But I will tell you, I think if you make good decisions financially moving forward, it doesn't take, you don't have to make $100,000 a year plus in order to be financially stable.
yeah, yeah, it's like we came back to, it's like those small things. Yeah, just build and build.
Yeah, and I feel like you are, I know you put a lot of time and money into your healing and all of that kind of stuff, but like I feel like you're not like a high maintenance human. So I feel like you probably live pretty simply.
But then with Lyme, it felt like I became a high maintenance. I was like, there was a couple times, like, how much money does it take to keep this body alive? Like, I would be spending, like, the average counseling session these days in Canada is like $170. The average naturopath appointment is like between 100 to $300. So if and cranial sacral would be like 100 to 150. So I could spend anywhere from, if I had 1 to 3 appointments, like 100 to $500 in a week on treatment. So that adds up like huge.
Yeah, for sure. But that was also like you healing your body. Like you said, you needed to keep yourself alive and heal this disease as much as, or make it livable at least. I know, I think Lyme doesn't always fully go away. Is that correct?
Yeah, it depends. It goes very intracellular, so it goes very deep. So even me, I consider myself in remission, and I know I've done the deep intercellular work, but there's still a part of me being like, there could be stuff like hidden deeper. And so I'm very mindful of my energy levels, because it's Lyme can stay dormant and hidden for a long time until you get swamped or knocked sideways energetically, or some big emotional thing happens in your life. And Lyme's, oh, the body or the nervous system is weakened, now's their time to rise up and take over. And that's why people will be like, I think a lot of people have Lyme in their systems dormant for a long time. Some people have it in their like systems for their entire life, but because they're strong and healthy enough and robust and they have good connections and they're taking care of themselves, it will never affect them. And then other people, it's like big life events and Lyme. So they're like, why am I dealing with this? Now I feel really sick. And yes, it's an interesting one. So yeah, it doesn't, I like to believe mine is done and dealt with. Like, I'm totally at this part of I'm releasing it, but I do have some after effects that I'm still managing. It definitely affected my vagus nerve here. It caused the glial cells in my brain to be a bit like activated. I have a bit of nerve numbness. My liver still can be activated or work hard. My joints can get more stiff if I don't like take care or be mindful of the food I'm eating. And yeah, so I don't know. It's a hard one.
I will tell you too, I know because you were doing a lot of naturopathic stuff, you had to pay out of pocket for that stuff, but the US healthcare system, we feel that shit even with normal doctors. So I have a friend who just went through cancer treatments and she told me with everything she went through, her insurance was billed $2 million from January to now for her chemo treatments and everything that she's gone through and everything. And luckily her insurance is decent enough that she just had to pay her deductible, which was like 7 grand or something like that. But if you didn't have that insurance, the fact that is what's being billed to the insurance is absolutely insane. So there are a lot of people in the US that end up bankrupt from our medical system too.
That's what I was saying. Like, yeah, you're right. And that's why I keep saying it. I'm one of the lucky ones with Lyme. And I think, yeah, I've mentioned it before, following my intuition and really connecting with people, because there's a lot of healing you can do, free healing you can do with people for trades and stuff. And yeah, the medical system is, yeah, I feel for you guys there. If I don't even know, yeah, just to have that amount of coverage, like you'd have to have a really good insurance plan.
Yeah, there's so many things wrong with it. I know that the Canadian system isn't perfect either, but I know that most of my Canadian friends would not trade it for our system.
Yeah. And the fact that we can be seen for free, we just have to wait a bit. I would take that any day. Then, yeah, exactly. Although some people, like, you have to wait so long here, they end up going and paying for a private doctor anyway.
But even that, I mean, I guess I don't know. Maybe it still is the same cost, but I feel like even your private doctors are probably cheaper than if we went to doctors and paid out of pocket a lot of the time.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy. All right, my dear. So we need to wrap this up a little bit. I feel like we could just talk for ages because I love talking with you about all this stuff. It's so great. So, do you have any? Thank you. First off, thank you so much for the update and for being so real and honest about the place that you're at in your life and all the things you've gone through. I really appreciate that. I know it's not easy. Thank you for your good cry about the trees. I loved that. So, I don't know, what kind of final words do you want to put out there to anyone listening to this?
I think it's really that if you feel like the energy of something is done, like truly done, if you're feeling it, have the courage to do the steps, even if they're hard and uncomfortable, to move on. Yeah. Don't keep clinging to a thing that's dead, because it will only just slowly kill you inside. It's like clinging to a skeleton or clinging to a black hole or something. It will not nourish you anymore. It will take from you. Really be brave, that move on and sit with the grief. Honor the grief. The reason you're feeling sad is because you truly loved it. The reason it's hard to let go is because you really loved it. It served you well. It was comfortable. It was fun. It gave you a lot of joy, but it's done. It's done now. And it's time for you to be like brave and have the courage and trust that there will be things that you will love just as much or even more moving forward. Don't be afraid of that. Yeah. In the let them theory, I think she says, trust that there are so many people out there that will love you that you haven't even met yet. Best connections of your life are ahead waiting for you, and you don't even know it. Yeah.
I love that. That was great. That was a great way to end. Thank you so much, friend.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
this has been so great. And I love having people back. It's been like I'm finding the more like repeat conversations I'm having, it's super fun because to get people's updates and like to also walk with you through some of this healing and see where you're at is really cool. And to this is a year later, over a year since we chatted last. Yeah. So thank you so much for coming on and being vulnerable and all the things. I appreciate you so much. And yeah, thank you everyone for listening. We'll see you on the next episode.